Hello, everyone. Welcome to the e-NABLE Town Hall meeting for September 11th, 2015. This is the weekly meeting where team leads are able to update the community on what's happening. I'm Justine Diamond, your host for this week's meeting. Please remember that you can ask questions through the Q&A feature. You'll find the Q&A at the upper right of your screen. Just click on the little grid of 9 boxes. If you're watching on certain devices, such as an iPad, you may find you can't access the Q&A. Questions can also be posted to the event page in the comments section. We will monitor both as we go on and answer the questions as best we can. If we don't get to your question, we'll try and put an answer to that question on the comments section. So with those formalities out of the way, let's get started. This week, rather than a litany of events, which is what I normally give you, I thought I'd actually show you the calendar so that you can see not only where to find it, but what it looks like. So if you give me just one moment, I'm going to share my screen. So here we have the Enabling the Future screen, and there's a button for events. If you click on that, it will bring you to the calendar, which by default will be in agenda format, although you can change it to see it however you would like. By week, by month, or by agenda. There are different layers to this calendar, and if you click on this little arrow, you can select what you want to see. There's chapter activity, events, presentations, and virtual events, which are events like this town hall. If you look at any event and click on it, you'll get additional information about it with the option to copy it to your calendar. So if you go through here, you'll see all the events that I've been talking about the past meetings. And the one that's coming up this weekend, which is the Maker Faire in Orlando, we have actually Keith Johnson with us, will be running one of our tables there. And so I'm going to pass this over to him, and he can tell us about how that's going. Keith?
Hi, this is excuse me. Hi, this is my first time speaking at one of these. Done some Q&As before. Really quick, I wanted to talk about our Maker Faire. It's actually a pretty large one for the size city we have. There's over 300 booths, 600 participants, estimated 15,000 attendees. And we do have 2 booths this year. Laird Popkin is going to be doing his traditional maker booth with likely a whole bunch of hands there actively building and showing that off. My booth is more going to talk about the e-NABLE Community Foundation's programs and how to get involved and things like that. I'm still putting the finishing touches on my booth here. You see some t-shirts hanging, oops, and shirt I was going to wear. Anyway, some t-shirts hanging, and just wanted to go a couple quick things for anybody else that's doing a booth, some easy things that you can do. This backdrop is just fabric from Joann's. I waited till the Labor Day, 75% off sale. Also the t-shirts are, and I've got these, sorry, reaching for this, these t-shirt transfer paper things. They go in any inkjet printer, and I can't do screen share because the screen that's got the t-shirt images is actually a different computer, but so I'm gonna do my own makeshift logos, kind of to promote the shirts that we'll have coming out eventually, and the ones possibly that we do have, but I don't want to copy ones that are existing. But it's a 2-day Maker Faire, so anybody that's listening, watching, or knows someone in the Orlando area, please stop by. Scott Darrow is going to be joining me on Sunday, and got a printer on loan from Bob Houston at Delta Maker, who will also be there with his own company. But there's a lot of support in Orlando, maker spaces, the Melrose Center. If you're not familiar, look up Melrose Center, Orlando. It's an amazing place. But what I wanted to do as a request was, one of the things I'm doing is I've got this tablet up here, And I wanted to show off one of the things that is confusing to new people, which is how we actually communicate. A lot of people have the misconception that there's a corporate office somewhere and that there's a significant hierarchy that's unchanging, and obviously we know that that's not the case. So it's a little daunting that people say, well, in Google Plus, it's once you get the landscape of it, it's fine, but Google Plus appears differently on every device, so it can be a little challenging for new people. And the Hangouts, depending on your video capability, can be challenging. So I really wanted to do just a demonstration of that, and hopefully Laird, who's actually in the Science Center, this one is so big this year that we're occupying the entire Science Center, Lock Haven Park outside of it, and the Museum of Art. Mine is actually going to be in the Museum of Art. So I'm hoping to do live hangouts throughout the thing, both talking to Laird in the other building, catching passersby. I've got my camera rig with to catch any potential interviews or people that come by to talk. So I'm just kind of throwing out a whole variety. This is kind of one of those try everything and see what works best thing at the fairs. And again, most of this is either stuff I had or stuff I picked up at Joanne's. Really excited to do it. Should be a really big one. But again, I want to invite people in general to feel free to call my Hangout number. I think I need to click as an acquaintance or something first. But specifically, I would like to invite you folks, everybody that's here. You're the most active. You're the ones that people will follow and talk to. So anybody involved in the Hangout that wants to either schedule or just randomly call me, it's roughly 10 to 5 Saturday and Sundays. So, call in. We'll put you up on here and have a chat. I also have a number of hand kits that were destined for the conference. And so I've talked to Melina about where, to go with them now. And so if I can get enough support on Saturday, I'm going to try to schedule a little build event, and I'll use the camera to film that too. See if we can't get, a few little things going from here. And also, as a last thing, I've done event production for 20-plus years in Florida, and happy to travel anywhere to Florida, set this booth up, help out at the booth, bring whatever is necessary. Because I really want to see this grow, not, it seems we've stumbled a couple times, and, I think these maker fairs are a really good way to drum up support, but if that support doesn't know what to do, that's going to be a problem. And that's why I think that demonstrating the Google Plus and community and doing some live hangouts with some of you folks would be really, really crucial. So I guess that's about it. I've rambled long enough. If there's any questions, I'll stay on. But thanks for the time, and hope to do this more often.
Thanks a lot, Keith. Next, I know Rich is having some connectivity problems, but Rich, are you able to talk a little bit about E3?
Hi, Justine. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. I'm at school right now, and we're just kind of seem to be in and out with our connectivity, so I'm going to give it a shot. Not actually much new to report this week. We continue to have new schools coming on board, incorporating e-NABLE into their classrooms. Exciting stuff this week. We actually have the start of school for many schools, and we seem to have a number of schools that are kind of laying the groundwork for work with e-NABLE down the road, and using e-NABLE as an opportunity to teach their students not only about STEM and STEAM, but also service and disabilities and all sorts of different things. So it's been really great to see the different directions that teachers are taking the work. I don't know, Justine, if you've had a chance to introduce some of the teachers that we have with us today.
I have not, but we do have some teachers with us today, and we're very excited about that. So I'll let you start with that.
Great. So maybe I'll let you introduce them. So we're trying something a little bit different today. We're actually incorporating some teachers who have been doing some of the pioneering work with e-NABLE in classrooms over the last year or 2 years, and Justine had a great suggestion of bringing them in on the conversation and share a little bit with us the work that they've been doing. We have actually seen, certainly Caroline joined us for the E3 Hangout kickoff launch of our education initiative a couple of weeks ago, so she did such a great job on that. We thought we'd bring her back and give her a little bit more exposure in terms of the work that she's doing. So Caroline, can I pass it to you?
Absolutely. Thank you for inviting me to attend. And I also have with me some other teachers, team teachers that I worked with on the project, and one of our students who worked on the project today. So I'm going to be passing it along to them after I introduce what we were able to do over the course of the past year. Basically, we were introduced to the e-NABLE project late last August, early September, by someone we sought out to do professional development around how to utilize a 3D printer in our math and science curriculum. I'm the K-12 math coordinator at Convent of the Sacred Heart, which is a private school in Manhattan, and I encourage anyone who is interested in reaching out to us. We'd be happy to assist or help anyone that is looking for assistance with starting the project in their school if they have a 3D printer. We were so excited about the project in early September. Even though we didn't really have very long to plan, we decided to pilot it in 3 of our classes. So Tanya Namad Lurch and Aubrey Stevens and I and one of our our server coordinator, were able to come together and meet and signed up to become volunteers and decided to sign up 3 of our classes. And with that, we had so much success that we expanded the program to include all of our 9th grade classes. So that meant an additional 2 classes joined on, so about 5 classes all total, and we were able to create 20 hands. So I'd like to pass along the screen to Evangeline Frechette. She has a class to go to in a few minutes, so she's going to describe her experience. Last year she was an engineering student in 11th grade, and was very, very excited about the project and even came in on Saturdays to work on the hands. So here is Evangeline.
Hi. I just want to say this is one of the best programs ever to be created. Not only does it help somebody, but it academically influenced all of us that did it. One of the goals at Sacred Heart tells us to help and reach out to others and to help promote community service. So not only are we enhancing our education, but we're also able to help somebody, and in a very good way. This project also is very helped me choose what I want in the future. This was the project where I realized that I did want to become an engineer in the future. Because it does expose you to some sort of biomedical engineering and some mechanical engineering, and so it did help lots of students to see what they wanted to become in the future. We also got an introduction to 3D printing. I'd never done 3D printing, but it is the future. People are 3D printing homes, they're 3D printing, I heard of a car, and it is the future of technology. And so in order to be exposed to this and to help somebody at the same time is just a great project. And even if we did have problems, I mean, towards the end we did have a few glitches. You learn to work through them, and it just helps enhance your education on how to work through problems, how to build a hand, how to work with a 3D printer, and to reach out to others and help them.
Okay, great. And with that, we're going to introduce her engineering teacher, Ms. Aubrey Stevens, who was part of the initial pilot team. Take it away, Aubrey.
Thank you. That was my star student, Evangeline. She did a really great job of elaborating what the project meant to my students. In fact, my students loved the project so much in my engineering class that they actually chose to do it again as their capstone project. So that was a really great opportunity for my students to take the process of actually communicating with the families, with the recipients themselves, and going through the entire process themselves from start to finish. So one of the things that my students did was they created Google sites to really keep their families up to date with the process. So that was everything from actually doing the measurements to, tinkering with the files on Tinkercad and to changing the colors, and really making sure that the family and the recipient was getting everything that they were looking for with that experience. So it was really great. It was a great opportunity for my students to sort of dive headfirst and to go through a lot of the troubleshooting that was involved with that. We actually were 3D printing the cyborg beast, and we had to do a couple different iterations of the cyborg beast. It's not, at the time, it wasn't as polished as the Raptor and the Raptor Reloaded, but we had some really great experience, great feedback from the families, and it was a great opportunity. And I certainly encourage other educators to use this as an opportunity to allow their students to be leaders within the e-NABLE project. So
actually, could I ask you a quick logistical question? How did you deal with the either you or Caroline could answer, but how did you deal with the logistics of the actual time needed for the prints? So like the 20 hours or whatever it was taking for you to print?
That's an excellent question, and at the time last year we only had one printer. So what we did is we staggered the prints out, so we would only get in touch with the recipient when we knew one hand was done and we were ready to start another. I wrote a grant and was able to get some funding for some additional printers at our school, and so now we'll have 4 printers, which would really help us a great deal. But we still intend on, staggering the prints out so that this way we're able to manage it. We're still gaining training on how to use the 3D printer to be a little less reliant on our tech department and a little bit more self-reliant. But I'd like to introduce Tanya Namad-Lurch, who was the initial teacher that did a lot of investigating and laid most of the groundwork for this project for us to all join, and so she did a lot of the legwork. Here's Tanya.
Hi. Yeah, we heard about this opportunity, and it was really exciting. We weren't 100% sure how it would go, so Ms. Stevens, who just spoke to you, was really wonderful in allowing our classes to collaborate. So we were able to kind of team teach. We spent the in-class time is really not that much, so we, I think, maybe only took out of our curriculum a couple of days, definitely less than a week, and we did one day where we did a big presentation on 3D printing because a lot of our students had never seen it, and then we went into the project and the e-NABLE website and what they've been doing, and then we had the girls explore the different types of hands, types of hand deformities that people can be assisted with these types of prosthetics. And then we went into introducing our recipients. So at the time we did 3 classes simultaneously, and I would say the hardest coordination effort was getting an entire class of girls to divvy up the work for doing this because they were all so excited. So we had a pretty elaborate system of things like we had a Google Calendar, and we had all of the steps in the video for assembly kind of split out according to how many students we had, and we had pairs of students go and basically be responsible for doing a section of the assembling, and then they would sign off, they would take pictures as they worked, send them to the families, post them on the site, and then the next group would come in and do the assembling. So we had 3 hands being made in the fall, and we were kind of overseeing them, but the assembly and the printing and the aftermath of our initial introduction really happened while we were teaching I teach geometry, algebra 2, and AP statistics, so I continued with my standard geometry curriculum. The girls worked independently, and so that was kind of in our initial fall launch of this, and one of the recipients came to the school in person to get his hand, and the ABC News crew came as well, and they were so excited. So we got a lot of local publicity, which I think helped in terms of the school understanding, why we're taking some time from the curriculum, helping us get some grants. So now with all of that laid down, the spring semester was when students such as Miss Stevens's her advanced engineering classes, they really took it to another level in terms of creating individual Google sites per family. So the family at any time was able to log on and see the calendar and see what the girls were doing that day, or could see, okay, you know, on next Tuesday they're going to be assembling, you know, the hand, and then they're going to be adding the Lego piece, and we'll be able to see that. So they were able to just really, I think the communication is a big part of it, and it just, you know, there's a person waiting and there's a family waiting, and especially if it's a kid. So that whole aspect got much more streamlined in the spring when we saw what worked. And we made raptors, we made Raptor Reloaded, and we made some cyborg beasts. And now this year, we have the ability, we're going to have the girls, our students are all girls, they will be in groups of 3, and each group of 3 will make a hand. And again, we're going to stagger that. So I actually emailed Melina this morning telling her that we wanted to start with my first 2 geometry classes. We wanted to start in October, so we needed 7 recipients, you know, whenever she had those ready. And then once our classes finish, mid-November, Caroline's class is going to take over, and then they'll make about 5 hands, and then the next class will go. So we never have, we don't want anybody waiting for, you know, until the spring. And then I think Aubrey and her classes, the older girls really, they can do some extra ones as independent projects, but having the printer near us now will help as well. So we're gonna get trained in that, as Caroline mentioned. So it's really grown, and I think in terms of the troubleshooting, there's just, you know, very minor things that go awry, and you realize, oh God, you know, you put the fingers in upside down, or like the knuckles in backwards, and you know, just like little things that the girls discovered on their own that we had to redo or fix, and then we're able to make notes for the next group to do it. And I think that experience and watching them troubleshoot and figure it out was a great learning experience. The math, we did a lot of scale factor, the measurements, different tools of that nature. That was great. Obviously, the physical, putting it all together, and then, you know, as a project, grading them on their ability to communicate with the families, do a presentation, you know, and be really methodical about it.
Great. Thank you, Tanya. So that wraps up, I think, net all along through the course of the year, we learned that it was more efficient for our students to work together in groups of 3 or 4 and have total responsibility for building a hand from initial measurement all the way up to the print assembly, packing it up, writing a letter to the recipient, doing a reflection on the experience, you know, as a capstone to the project. So that's how we ended it. Thank you.
Great. I should mention we have questions just piling up here. I know that Maria wants to introduce Bob Payne, who's also joined us to talk a little bit more about informal education. But I did want to just address a question that came in about funding. So one of the interesting things that happens when a school comes across e-NABLE is if a school has a printer or a 3D printer or a set of printers, that seems like a natural fit for a school that's looking for a real life application of the printers. Can I just ask the group there, did you have printers already at your school before you took on this project? Nope. I think we just need to unmute Caroline. Yeah.
Sorry, that question was for us?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we
sorry, Tanya, we still can't hear you. It seems like somehow you got muted again.
Okay, try that.
Hi, can you hear us?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our school did have a printer. We used it the year prior. We did a project for 3D printing, but we were making trinkets and kind of playing with the Tinkercad software. The lower school was doing a lot with it, but we didn't have one dedicated for the upper school. We didn't have exclusive use of it. That really is only coming this year. And as Caroline mentioned, we got funding. She wrote some grant proposals, and we were lucky enough to get that. And I think additionally we work at a private school, which makes us very lucky in terms of budget and kind of acquiring some of these things.
If anyone's interested in grant writing, they can go on the not-for-profit foundations and grants websites, and they have requests for proposals all the time. Even small grants of $500, $700, $1,000, they all add up. And so even though I got 2 small ones, they added together to over $1,000. I mean, if you compile them all together, it would be enough. If you got $2,000 or $3,000 together with the use of grants or crowdsourcing and GoFundMe sites, you might be able to get enough funds in order to buy a printer or use. We actually wanted to have the funds to help us pay for our filament and shipping and the cost of the kits.
I will say also, I worked with some students. I tutor at another school, and they held a series of bake sales, and they raised enough money to get the filament, to get all of the screws and all of the additional products, and then the money for shipping. So their school did have a printer, but they were able to raise it. So and that's something, if you're doing a project with students, can be part of the project. Like, they can fundraise and raise awareness in the community in order to get we figured about $50 for all the materials, the shipping, etc. per hand.
Great. So actually, we had a very similar experience at our school. So we built an early 3D prosthetic. We didn't have a 3D printer, and as soon as our students built it, and then shared it with the community, and they did a little video, we found ourselves with 3 3D printers being donated to our school. And I think to even just get your feet wet in the project, maybe even, so we actually have our E3 STEAM network where we can connect schools with other schools that may be able to print the components. To even begin building one of the hands, you will see incredible, profound responses from community members and parents when they see their children involved in real-life, meaningful work. And it is not unusual for schools to all of a sudden see funds directed towards printers. As Caroline mentioned, we have also teachers, educators in our network who have led very successful crowdfunding campaigns to acquire printers, and we're seeing all sorts of resilient approaches to getting printers and filament as well into schools. We're also, I should actually mention at one point, right now, one of our partners called Level Up Village. And if you've been following any of our webinars, Level Up Village, that is an organization that is seeking to connect schools around the world through tech work, one of which is 3D designing, but also coding and also websites as well. But Level Up Village has a potential for a school to be partnered with another school in a developing country, and they will often supply the partners with 3D printers. And so if anybody's out there looking to get a 3D printer, Level Up Village would be one group that you may look at, and there are resources there to help facilitate collaborations across the world. I should also mention we're also looking at possible organizations donating filaments to e-NABLE. We're in the position of now having to just confirm the quality of the filament before we send it out to schools, but that is also something that we're investigating. So, but thank you so much for that. I think everybody could tell it's not just the students that benefit from this type of work, and it certainly is not just the recipients, but we see educators bringing this to the school, actually having transformational experience for themselves, and it's great to hear the 3 of you speaking, and thank you so much for bringing your student in on that too. That was great.
Okay, thank you. I think, John, didn't you have some questions for Caroline?
I did. I was actually really impressed by the logistical innovation work that you all have done. And, you know, it's that kind of practical problem solving. You say, okay, great, we're going to make hands. But it turns out the devil is in the details, and teachers are really good, actually, at reducing all of those details into a lesson plan and templates and support materials. And, for example, this notion of a Google site for each user is a brilliant idea that I haven't heard before. I'm wondering whether you all can provide or have provided template or a guide so that all the other teachers who are trying to figure out how to do this don't have to reinvent all of the things that you did.
Yes, we'd be happy to do that, and we've shared our site and some resources already on the resources tab of the Enabling the Future website, but I think it would be a great idea to share the Google site information in the calendar and how we got the group.
Well, that's great. Also, you were talking about the calendar work that you did and so on. Sort of thinking about, if you will, I assume teachers share lesson plans with each other, providing a document that says, okay, would you like to do something like this? Here's what to have in mind. Here's what worked for us. Here's how to go about it. And in a sense, it's a lesson plan for the teachers as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we created a Google site in the initial stages that was carried out, and that was for the school, and that had the breakdown of all the different steps and where students could sign up and posting the picture updates, and that was updated by each teacher as each class took it on. The student created sites that they shared with their families. We can absolutely get that, but the school site that has all of the teacher materials, the presentations we use, that already is on. It's already on the resources tab. Yeah, but we'll get the student ones. That's a great idea. We were impressed with what the students did too.
Excellent. That's great. It's another huge contribution.
Actually, one thing I wanted to mention, so a passing reference was made to the Enabling the Future website and the tabs at the top. If any folks are listening and would like to see some of the educational resources that are being designed and created, such as the teachers at Convent of the Sacred Heart, if you were to just hover over the Get Involved tab, and then you will see the E3 STEAM, and if you click on that, you will see the Convent of the Sacred Heart, their curriculum work represented there, along with a number of other schools that have begun to not just have this be an opportunity for the students to do service work by building hands, but also starting to take advantage of some of the educational and deep learning opportunities for kids by connecting the work to curriculum areas in math, as Tanya was mentioning, but also in biology and engineering and technology and service and global ed, and I could go on, but check out that website and the link to our repository, and you'll start to see increasing numbers of documents and materials produced by teachers around the world.
Okay, thanks a lot. Rich, you want to introduce Bob?
Sure, I'm happy to do that. I think Maria had expressed an interest in doing that, but I'm happy to do that if she...
I'll do it. See, Bob, we're fighting over you now. So the E3 has a number of examples of classrooms large and small and informal educators with groups large and small getting involved. Bob Payne is working with SUNY Polytechnic in Utica. He's also working with the first LEGO League and the first Technology Challenge. His students coordinate those events for the state of New York. And so since the challenge time has been moved to January, he was looking for a different type of project-based learning that his students could do at SUNY. And what he's set in place is really impressive because the students are taking youth leadership roles. The academic experience is pretty sweeping because they're engaged in learning manufacturing and engineering. And the social impact is impressive as well because they're not only doing fabrication of generically sized devices for the medical teams, they've gone through the process of enlisting themselves as volunteers and getting matched and creating for recipients locally, and they're also getting engaged in other areas with regard to assessing the manufacturing and the instructions and the research and development, the testing process. So I'm going to turn this over to Bob, and I'm so grateful that you are able to present with us. I love that this is coming from the community today.
Thank you, Maria. Yeah, so just briefly, a little bit of my background. I am a manufacturing engineer by education. I've been involved in manufacturing for the past 25 years here in Central New York. And about 8 years ago, we got involved with FIRST. And for those who aren't aware of what FIRST is a non-for-profit out in New Hampshire, and it stands for Inspiration and Recognition of Science and Technology. It was created by Dean Kamen, who was very big in the biomedical industry as well. Very innovative, a lot of inventions he has patented and what have you. So not only do our kids build robots for a competitive season, it's also about giving back to the community. And this e-NABLE makes a perfect fit for this process. It's wonderful. Last year, 3D Systems, who manufactures the Cube, gave 1,600 printers to FTC and FRC teams in the United States. So now we're in the process of trying to bring those teams and those students to help us in an assembly event that we're trying to do at SUNY Poly this November. As of today, we have 11 teams from around the United States, from out to Texas all the way down to Florida, that are right now in the process of printing hands and components. Once they have those hands and components completed, they will be sending them up to me, and that's where our students, our college students at SUNY Poly, will then take that process of, okay, now we have these things. We have inventory management that we're going to have to take care of. We have our assembly process. Oh, by the way, how do we make sure that the quality is there when we get ready to ship these hands off to the medical groups? So it's not only about the hands getting to folks, it's about this learning experience that these college students are going to have. As you can tell, I can babble a lot and I can talk a lot, but when I can take students and give them a project like this and say, here, let's learn from this, let's make some mistakes as we go along, but guess what, when we end this thing in December and send hands off, we're all going to feel better about ourselves. We're going to say we're going to have an impact on the world, on themselves too, because they've been engaged in an educational experiment, if you will, that isn't just learning from the books, it's actually doing. So we're really excited about that. And there's a lot going on here that all of a sudden I've only been involved with e-NABLE for about a month and a half now, but we are so excited. The group in the FIRST community have really jumped on board to help us start to build our inventory up. We are in the process right now working with Maria to look at how can we test these components. How do we know that PLA is stronger than ABS? Now there's some new materials out there. Nylon 6 is being introduced now through 3D Systems. So we have some of that material coming on board. We're going to start experimenting with that, actually printing some components out. The other aspect in this whole process is we hope to model this process here so that we can share that with other educational institutions around the United States or around the world that want to get involved in these assembly events. It sounds simple. Let's just do an assembly event. Let's get a whole bunch of stuff here and start building. But there's a lot to it. So we're excited to be part of it. My students, I was up at class 2 nights ago, and I'm in the process of just lecturing right now up there just to get them introduced to some of the operation management principles. But at the end of the class, several of them come up and said to me, we're really excited to be part of this. We can't wait to start getting our hands dirty, making it different. So yeah, so it's a pretty interesting process. Not only will we look at the documentation part, we'll also look at the training process as well. Because the one class that I teach is operations and production management, so those folks will be documenting all of this. The other course that I teach is professionalism in the workplace, engineering ethics. You know, what is it to be an engineer in today's society? And part of that is being an active part of the community because you are a professional. So we're bringing those students in to volunteer, if you will. Okay, I do have a captive audience with these students, so they get to all be engaged with me. So we're going to bring those folks in. They're going to be part of the assembly process. So they'll be the guinea pigs, if you will, to help understand. Here's our methods. Now here's some students that are going to be learning from those methods. Can they understand them? Can we make that an easy process for anyone to take a document and build a hand, if you will? There's a lot going on here between bringing in the first community, and again, those are middle to high school age kids are in the first tech challenge. And then we hope to open it up to First Lego League, which is the elementary school kids, and then FRC, which are high school kids as well, to all get engaged in this. So it really is a perfect fit for the first community.
That's your head spin. Fantastic.
Yeah, my head does spin all the time.
I think it's fantastic also to see how the caliber of his students are able to contribute as colleagues with some incredible professionals who are engaged in our R&D, and some amazing hobbyists and parents who have been working so hard on creating devices who are on fire because they're helping their kids, but they also have mad skills. So I wanted to encourage the students to hang in there for a couple more lectures, because what you're about to do is just going to be amazing. And also I wanted to thank his lead at the moment especially. He's a great communicator, but he's really engaged in rallying this class to become a real manufacturing core. Their skills at analysis, the way they're approaching even just how to test torque, it's just amazing. So I wanted to encourage people who are engaged in E3, either as formal or informal educators, not to sell short what you could do, and be excited about applying what you're talking about to what's happening in the community, because the bridges that Bob is working on building with, combining his older students with the young students in the community, are also what's allowing him to connect them with amazing mentors outside of his normal geographic sphere. And then I'm building a little bit farther on your arc, Bob, because I'm also including a school in Florida. It's a master's level program in occupational therapy. They're working on exercises and further assessment tools. So we're going to be combining with them and a couple of other groups to really approach manufacturing and testing in a really lovely and rigorous way. So thank you for joining me as part of that upgrade and what we do.
Yeah, and I'd like to just make a final comment that this is new to us and potentially new to the community. Is any other educational institutions out there, whether they're secondary or elementary, we would love to connect with them as well, because we can learn from them, they can learn from us, and then we all work together for this wonderful cause of getting hands to children and adults that really need them. So I'm not sure if my contact information is out there, but Maria, at some point you can make that public to the community.
That's great. I will add it to the notes. I'm adding it to the E3. And I'm also excited that you're illustrating what formal and informal education can be. Thanks.
Thank you.
I have one more thing to add to my little segment here on the town hall today, and that is a quick assessment of the requests that are coming in to the Matcher. Now that we have more visibility for our program in Europe, we're getting more requests from that area of the world, and it exceeds the people who are available there as printers. And so we really do need to turn to the international schools, the other schools that are part of Level Up, to see if this is a way that we can address some of the devices that the requests that could be fulfilled with generic size devices. That would be a great way to match with these classrooms and to also engage you in some of this process and to see how it fits in with the whole. It also might be a way for us to find other great mentors and combine to build a stronger network out there. So please realize that you know, with all the blessings of getting more coverage, we also have a really great need for schools like yours and informal groups like yours to please come on board. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maria. And I think that brings us to you, John. It's all yours.
Well, I'm not going to take too much of it because that was so amazing. You know, what's interesting about all of this is that it's also, among other things, about scaling. The way Bob is talking about identifying the manufacturing processes, sharing with other schools. We're scaling the educational activities. We're also scaling the fabrication. The first will be huge as it fans out, and Bob is working on that. And so it's not. It's just the synergies are just extraordinary. It's just great, and it allows me to feel good, if bittersweet, about my big event for the week, which was that we decided collectively, everyone who's involved in it, to postpone e-NABLECon 2015. It was a hard decision because, frankly, we've invested a huge amount of time into it, but it's already bearing fruit, and it was a good decision. We have so much going on that, unlike the one-day conference, goes on in parallel every day throughout the year and builds, that we just realized that the time that would have taken to organize and mount a one-day conference could support, for example, the kinds of things that we've got going on here. So I think everybody feels good about the decision, but everyone is regretful that we're not going to all get together in one place. But there are only so many hours in the day, and there are only so many people in the community and on the staff. And I think we are investing our personal blood, sweat, and tears and the grant money that we've had in a really responsible and efficient manner. What we're doing, what we saw today, is going to bring more hands to more recipients. It's going to bring more hand makers to the world. It's going to bring more educators to create more hand makers and more hands. And it's going to set a new pattern for learning, education, and international service. And one of the reasons we were sort of behind schedule on the conference development was in part because I'm proud to say, we invested in this kind of an activity, and we will be investing more in these kinds of activities. So I'd suggest, Rich, that you just send a message out to everyone in E3 STEAM saying that this episode of e-NABLE Town Hall was brought to you by E3 STEAM and has got a huge amount of insight for people who are watching or involved or participating. And
Absolutely, John.
we should do it again. It's just great. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you very much, John. A couple of things did come up in the Q&A about this, most of them from Jen Owen, who keeps the blog and is usually here with us. She says, teachers and students, check out teespring.com, where students can create t-shirt designs and sell them as a fundraiser too. She adds, what would be most helpful for information is for me to get up on the website is what people are looking for as wanting to get started or get involved. And to those teachers that are incorporating e-NABLE into their classroom, if they would like us to create more E3 STEAM instructional videos, please contact Jen Owen, as she'd love to have those as a web series. And you can reach her at jen.owen@enablingthefuture.org. I don't think I see any other questions that haven't been addressed. So we'll give it a couple of minutes. If there's nothing else, that's going to be it for this week. Does anybody have anything else?
I just want to say that one question that I didn't ask, which I'm going to ask people to bombard Rich with, is the following question. What could the community or the foundation do to help these teachers and students do what they're doing more effectively and faster? Educational videos might be part of it. let us know. What we're trying to do is act as catalysts. So let us know if you're aware of a catalyst that can be mixed into the ingredients that we're already cooking with.
Okay, I think that if you get in touch with us, we can pass all that along. Please keep in mind that here this week we got to hear a lot from people in the community. If there are other people watching who have things they want to share with the community, by all means get in touch with me, because the town hall is about the community and for the community. We will see you next week. Until then, happy printing.